Let's talk Kolkata Knight Riders, the team with the talking car. Sunil Narine, the four for, and then he comes out with the bat and makes 20 off about four balls in a small run chase. Like one of the great individual
It's gorgeous.
performances
Yeah.
in any match. Was this a sort of blast from the past performance, or has this been simmering away for a while? Because Narayan's one of these players who, was a revelation what feels like 15 years ago, and had all of the troubles with his bowling action, was less effective for a long time. Is he back, or was this like a brief foray into the past? I mean, he's kind of gone under the radar in the last few years because he's not the new player that he was. He's
Yeah.
not the new sensation, but I mean, what he's producing across a period of time is pretty admirable stuff.
Oh yeah, there's no question. I mean, we did some analysis during lockdown last year where there was no cricket for us to watch, so we started digging into the history book, and we basically decided that Narine is the best T20 player ever, the most effective. Obviously, greatness is a lot more abstract, and you talk about Gale and Pollard and winners' medals again. That kind of stuff matters in those kind of pub debates. But in terms of actual, just raw numbers, the Bradman of it all, he is the most effective T20 bowler of all time. He just doesn't go for any runs, and he's played hundreds of games. I think, there was a dip a couple of years ago, and he's come back now. And I think there are those questions about his bowling action again. They are back on the agenda because all of a sudden he's ragging it, and there's everything's getting a little bit long sleeve, short sleeve discussions, and it's all that kind of stuff. It's very twitchy. It's very nudge wink wink kind of conversations on commentary. But I would also say that the pitches in the UAE have been very dry and very spin friendly, and it doesn't necessarily mean that just because he's ragging it, it means that he's chucking it. But I thought that game was amazing. Just that performance, as you say, it is a convoluted route to the final. The actual, the way they structure the final series, it's not, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to that obvious immediate sense of grandeur and occasion, because you're like, what is this, qualifier one, the eliminator two, qualifier nine? Like, it becomes a little bit, where are we in the calendar? But actually, once it clicks and you realize, this is a knockout game. And he's gone bang Maxwell, bang AB de Villiers, bang Kohli, and then he comes out and hits his first two balls for six. You just think this is a man who is putting in one of the great all-round performances, and in a way which doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel kind of out of nowhere. This is a guy, he kind of, and he exudes that vibe of like, I am a guy, I can do this, fine, Oh, you want a wicket maiden in the Super Over? I could probably do that. Oh, you want me to go out and just whack a load of sixes? Yeah, sure. It's that supreme confidence which I think kind of flows out of him. It's a real shame that he's not going to be at the World Cup, because he's just a wonderful bowler to watch. And I think he's the kind of bowler that, because he plays primarily in the T20 leagues.
Explain that to people, if you could. Why isn't he? Or what's going on?
Sure. Well, I think there's the obvious concern about the bowling action, because the IPL is famously a little bit more forgiving, should we say?
It's more about the show than about the interpretation.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you forget your lines as long as you turn up on time. There's a little bit of that kind of angle to it, and the idea that the ICC might not like their tournament being besmirched by someone potentially chucking it. I'm not saying he is or whatever, by the way. It's up for debate, and I don't know enough about this kind of stuff. But basically, I think that's the kind of behind the scenes suggestion. But the main one is just that he failed, or I think failed to turn up for a fitness test, and so basically, kind of, I think he played, Billy Big Trousers and didn't, and almost said like, I don't really want to do this, and so as a result, the West Indies are very keen at the moment on trying to create a culture and all of that kind of stuff, all those cliches. We're all in this together, and we all have to abide by the same rules, even if one of us is the best bowler in the world. And as a result, they've drawn a line. So that's why he's not going to go to the World Cup unless there's, barring a last minute decision to change that, which can happen. The ICC have built that in, so you're allowed to switch things up. We've seen that a lot in the last few days with Pakistan, and so there is the opportunity to do that. But it's just a real shame. He's so good, and you put him as the kind of cherry on the icing on the cake of that West Indies side. It would be like it's a real treat to watch. It's like taking Messi out of Argentina. It's like, still a good side, but it's not. It's suddenly it all feels a little bit like we're being deprived of a brilliant player for slightly messy, smudgy reasons that don't necessarily hang together in the broader view.
Yeah, when you look at it, you go, okay, well, here's a team where everybody down to about at least number 8 can smash sixes. What if we bring in a guy who can also smash sixes and happens to be the most effective bowler in the history of this format, who's also in red-hot form on the same pitches at the same grounds as this tournament will be played at about 2 weeks before.
He doesn't even need to check out of his hotel. Just stay where you are, Sunil. You're all good. You're all good. Those pitches are going to be they really are the kind of clinching deal for me, because like Narine can be ineffective on really flat wickets, and if you go to if it was being played at Eden Park, you'd think, maybe not. Maybe it's not worth a gamble. We're going to look at some of these fun quicks, and we're going to have McCoy in, and we're going to try and gamble on a new generation. But these pitches are tailor made for him, just absolutely tailor made. And the fact that you can see that with Varun Chakravarti, who plays alongside him for KKR, who is essentially, to all intents and purposes, a bit of a clone. Like they bowl very similarly. It's that front on kind of bowling slightly back of a length, spinning it both ways, about the same kind of pace. And they're both just absolutely loving it. And that's where KKR's resurgence has come from in the second half of the tournament. They won 2 of their first 7 matches going back in the India leg, and now they're in the final. And it's because their attack is just so well suited to these conditions. You've got all this spin, you've got Shakib Al Hasan, you've got Chakravarti, you've got Narine, but then you've also got Lockie Ferguson bowling 90-mile-an-hour back of a length, and sometimes it's a daisy cutter that comes in and takes your toe off, and sometimes it blows your head off. So how on earth are you supposed to play those attacks? Now on truer pitches, it could be a little bit samey, and it might lack a little bit of variety and a little bit of cutting edge. But on these wickets, it's absolutely, it's perfect. And it's interesting. We'll talk about CSK in a minute, but it's a real contrast to CSK, who don't really have any ball speed, who their spinners are more orthodox spinners, and there's guys who bowl cutters like Shardul Thakur, whereas KKR are like, we're just going to have mystery spin and high pace because we're going to play sexy cricket and it's going to be really fun. And you can just see McCullum just being like, nodding sagely, me like, yes, this is a team in my image. It's just like people who just want to have a really, really good time. And the batting is, seemingly kicked on as well. There's a couple of young kids in Shubman Gill and obviously is the heir apparent, but also Venkatesh Iyer, who's not a kid. He's come into the side. He's never played IPL before, and he's the missing link in the evolution of Indian all-rounders. India don't produce all-rounders in T20 cricket. They don't produce batting all-rounders. Basically just Hardik, and then it's like Shivam Dubey and people like that. But Venkatesh has suddenly turned up and is just batting without a cap or batting without a helmet, standing there hitting sixes for fun, and then bowling very, very cannily. And I think that kind of thing is very encouraging, that kind of story of a guy who he's not a kid who's broken through. He's a guy who's been bubbling away in the background of Indian cricket. And if we're looking for reasons to be positive about the 10-team expansion, i.e. does India have the depth to fill out these sides with quality players, the emergence of guys like Venkatesh is really significant. Because it just gives you that sense of, okay, there's actually another level there. There's another tier of players who are capable of being watchable, exciting, charismatic, again, to use the word, cricketers on a global scale. Like, people aren't just watching it being like, oh yeah, he's all right. So actually, who the hell is this guy? Like, he stands out, and he's never played in the tournament before. It's exciting for me, looking forward and thinking, God, I just don't want it to get crap. I don't want it to become bloated and to become this kind of, we're watching The Blast, but on a global scale. I'm encouraged by it. He is significant for me in that regard.
Well, you can tell that they're the fun team, because before every game, Owen Morgan in the dressing room is like, right, lads, how many hats do you think I can put on this time? 17. Do you think I can crack 17? My God, the man just will not stop wearing giant piles of hats.
I really want that to carry on after COVID. I just want that to that's the tradition I'm enjoying. I think it's a bit like the how obviously they have the orange cap and the purple cap for different awards. I think you should have the cap for the most caps. And
you have to wear the orange cap on top of your other cap, maybe something like that. I'd like to see the presentations. Here's the team gathered around, and we're presenting you with your England cap, and also your second England cap, your third England cap, your fourth England cap.